a philosophy that focuses exclusively on quiet dialogue and cooperation. Putting a lot of stress these days on trying to encourage, in respect, I would highlight countries like Brazil, South Africa, or India. We're focusing on the traditional defenders of human rights, governments that purport to promote human rights in their foreign policies. And what we found is an unfortunate tendency by these governments to fall for some of the subterfuges used by abusive governments to avoid pressure on their human rights record. We believe that we need a much more honest approach to when cooperation and dialogue works and when it does not work. There are times, as I mentioned, when it's perfectly appropriate, but too often in situations when it's not appropriate, it nonetheless is the sole remedy that is being proposed. I think that China recognizes that it has a serious human rights problem. It almost expects this to be part of its relations with other governments. It would prefer to, park that issue in the back room of the foreign ministry for the quiet dialogue. But the West should just say no. This should be not simply relegated to low-level foreign ministry diplomats. It should be a regular part of discussion for anybody who goes to China. Well, in terms of the External Action Service, so far, while there has been, sort of other self-immolations elsewhere, they have not led to the same spark that we saw in Tunisia. I do think that it's important, though, that the European Union and the US and others learn the lesson, and that is that it's wrong to sort of stand with the dictator simply because he's seen as a bulwark against terrorism or will help in fighting immigration. Whether it was smart to try to ease Belarus toward a more democratic set of elections or not, one can debate that. But given that the elections were anything but fair and the crackdown has been intense, it's now time to end the suspension and to reinforce the sanctions. Well, I'm hardly surprised that the hand-picked Israeli investigative commission found everything okay. This was not an independent probe. And we have been pressing for a genuinely independent investigation of what happened with respect to the flotilla raid. Member states now pretend they don't need foreign policies. Whatever Ashton does is enough. That is going to be a